Before you change the subject of China, there was something I wanted to bring up.
Sure.
And it's your show. I'm not trying to...
No, go ahead. No, this is very free form here. Go ahead.
Yeah, because I do get these statistical reports from time to time, I think there's one that I think you'd find particularly interesting. One little statistic, and I'm always interested to see people's reaction to this. The Federal Reserve gives us reports on the nation's entire wealth. Mm-hmm. The value of every single thing in the country, every house, every small business, every large business, every stock ownership, every 401k. Mm-hmm. It's all there together in one document. And the national net worth in the 18-month period between June of 2007 and December of 2008 dropped from $62 trillion to $50 trillion. In 18 months, the last 18 months of the Bush administration. So what that means is that we wiped out 20% of all the wealth that America had accumulated over the course of more than 2 centuries, and we wiped that out in 18 months. The amount of money that we're talking about here corresponds to $40,000 for every man, woman, and child in this country. So for my family of 7, we're talking about almost $300,000 wiped out in our national net worth in 18 months. Mm-hmm. And then Barack Obama was sworn in.
It's shocking, but it's not surprising, the damage that was done during those 8 years of Bush. And not to let Clinton off the hook with the signing of NAFTA or the completion of NAFTA, but the combination of two Bushes and sandwiching around Bill Clinton, it's a wonder that any of us can still afford to buy groceries, and a lot of us can't.
Well, I don't think that we literally can afford to take another hit, and that's why I think financial reform is so important. But it's financial reform that has to be dramatic, with the idea of going all out to prevent what happened before ever happening again. Mm-hmm. But when you think about it, we haven't changed the law in any fundamental way. It's more than a year later. And in particular, nobody has been held responsible. Mm-hmm. There's not one person in Wall Street or in Washington who's gone to prison for the fact that we lost 20% of our national net worth in 18 months.
And it's going to require a massive education process to let people understand or to help people understand what all this means. Most people's eyes glaze over, that, when you start talking about anything that has to do with economics or the economy or derivatives. Mine, as quickly as anyone else's, is going to take a lot of education to explain to people that no, you're never going to be an executive at Goldman Sachs where you're going to get a $5 million bonus. So you better work for reform. We only have about 3 minutes left, but I just wanted to ask you. I did not know until I think today or yesterday that every year the U.S. government is supposed to publish a list of those countries that manipulate their currency for the reasons that in manipulating currency, it throws askew the whole economic house of cards that we all pretend is real. And that last year, China did not get that designation, although they continue to do so. And I'm just wondering, at what point do you think, or is there a point where the Obama administration will, A, make that designation, B, respond by throwing some tariffs against this country that is, granted, we've been willful accomplices in this, but they're destroying us.
I think it's obvious that China is a currency manipulator. It's like saying, is the Pope Catholic?
Uh-huh.
Does a bear do what a bear does in the woods? I mean, it's perfectly obvious that they're manipulating currency, and they've been doing it for long enough, unfortunately for us, to accumulate $1 trillion of our assets. Mm-hmm. And we, in many respects, are now being held hostage to decisions being made by Chinese central bankers. They could crash the dollar tomorrow if they wanted to because of the accumulated errors of the administrations that you just referred to. The fact that under George W. Bush, we accumulated $4.5 trillion of debt in 8 years, and tried to unfund, or I should say, to wage 2 wars without even taking a stab at funding them, while giving tax cuts to the rich. Eventually your mistakes catch up with you.
Yeah.
And the only question, I guess, is are we going to be able to work our way out of this hole? I don't think that the Obama administration is going to declare China a manipulator, even though it's perfectly obvious that that's exactly what they do every day. Mm-hmm.
Well, in tying their currency to the U.S. dollar is again, not to get to the eyes glass over topic, but it's an outrage. it screws with the dollar, A, B, but it is such a false representation of their money, and it continues to fool the American public into going deeper and deeper and deeper in debt. And like you just said, at some point, all this stuff catches up. I think my grandmother used to tell me that, just before she would take a willow switch and lay it across my backside for doing something wrong. I don't know what the hell I ever did, but Grandma usually would find something. So I hope we can pull out of it. But when I say it, again, that nexus of all this stuff that is occurring, I mean, it is scary. You mentioned kids and grandkids. How many of us have that? I do. And I worry like hell. I worry all the time. What am I going to leave my kids and grandkids? And I'm not too pleased with what I see. Well,
we've grossly distorted our own economy by allowing the Chinese to steal manufacturing away from us through currency manipulation. Mm-hmm. If you look at the trade statistics, and this is another thing I do from time to time for laughs, if you look at the trade statistics, you realize that there's only a few sectors left where we're even really competitive. There's aerospace, there's chemicals, there's entertainment, and that's about it.
Well, there's also raw materials. We're turning into almost the same as a third world country. Listen, we're out of time. It's congressmanwithguts.com. There's a fundraiser going on there. Check it out. If you've got some money, throw it into the hat. You may not agree with Alan Grayson on every position that he takes, but this is the type of person we've got to have to tackle some of these domestic problems we got. Alan, it's been a real pleasure talking to you. I hope we can do this again sometime. Thanks for all your time.
Sure, I enjoyed it. I just hope somebody else did. It wasn't just me.
I've gotten a whole slew of emails here that are very complimentary. About just first of all, the relaxed tone of the conversation. Thanks, Alan.
Thank you, too.
All right, sir. Take care.
Good night.
We'll be back after the break. Do stay with us. I'm Mike Malloy.